TIFU, I, 30M, accidentally joined a secret underground fight club, and now I think I might be in too deep. This happened about a month ago, and I'm still not sure if I'm going to survive the fallout. To start it out innocently enough. Well, kinda. I recently moved to a new city for a job and didn't know anyone. The usual routine of work, home, repeat was starting to get to me, so I figured I'd try to meet some people. One night after work, I hit up a local bar. It was one of those dimly lit, hole-in-the-wall places where people seem to know each other, but they don't ask too many questions. The kind of place you can blend into the background, or so I thought. While nursing a drink, I struck up a conversation with a guy sitting next to me. Let's call him Mike, 35M. He seemed cool, rough around the edges but friendly enough. We talked about the usual stuff, sports, work, life. After a few beers, he asked if I wanted to check out something cool. I wasn't doing anything else, so I figured why not. I asked him what it was and he just grinned and said, "You'll see." Now I'm not an idiot. I should have seen the red flags. Random guy from a shady bar? Vague invite to an undisclosed location? It sounds like the beginning of every horror story, but in my defense, I was new in town and desperate for some excitement. So I followed Mike out of the bar, down a series of narrow streets, and into this old, abandoned-looking warehouse. The place was sketchy as hell, with peeling paint, broken windows, and zero lighting except for some flickering street lamps outside. We walked in, and there were at least 20 guys gathered in a circle around this makeshift ring. Think boxing, but way more DIY. At this point, I realized what I'd gotten myself into, but before I could back out, Mike slapped me on the back and said, "You're up." Wait, what? Apparently he had signed me up for a fight. I barely had time to react before some massive guy in a hoodie, let's call him Brick because he was built like one, stepped into the ring and started cracking his knuckles. The crowd was already hyped, shouting and placing bets. And I was just standing there, frozen in place, trying to figure out how the hell to explain that I had absolutely no business being there. Mike, sensing my panic, whispered, "Don't worry, man. Just throw a few punches and go down. You'll be fine." I wish I could say I was smart enough to leave, but no, my adrenaline was spiking, and a stupid part of me thought, well, maybe it won't be that bad. Spoiler, it was that bad. The fight started and Brick came at me like a freight train. I barely dodged the first punch, but I wasn't fast enough for the second. It felt like getting hit by a truck. My ears were ringing and the room was spinning, but somehow I stayed on my feet. In a desperate move, I swung wildly and, by some miracle, landed a punch on Brick's jaw. The crowd went insane and for a second I thought, hey, maybe I can do this. Then Brick smiled. He grabbed me by the collar and slammed me into the ground so hard I thought I'd broken something. The next thing I knew, I was looking up at a ceiling with flickering lights and people shouting for Mike to pay up. Apparently there was a side bet on how long I'd last and I didn't even make it a full minute. I figured that was the end of it. I'd had my stupid, painful initiation into some underground fight club, and now I could move on with my life, right? No. It turns out that by entering the ring, even by accident, I had committed to the group. They expected me to show up every Friday night for more fights, and if I didn't, well, let's just say they weren't the kind of people who took kindly to no-shows. I tried to explain that it was all a misunderstanding, that I didn't want to be a part of this, but Mike just laughed and said, "There's no quitting, man. You're in now." So, for the past few weeks I've been going back to that warehouse every Friday night. I've gotten my ass handed to me every single time, but weirdly enough I've started to get a little better. Don't get me wrong, I'm still awful and Brick could probably snap me like a twig, but I've learned a few tricks. I've even won a fight against some scrawny guy they clearly brought in to boost my confidence. Here's the kicker though, I actually kind of like it now. It's insane, but I feel alive when I'm in that ring. And the people? Yeah, they're rough and probably not the kind of crowd I should be hanging out with, but they've got each other's backs in a weird way. Mike's still there too, coaching me through it all. He says I've got potential, but honestly I'm just trying not to die. So yeah, TIFU by accidentally joining an underground fight club. I have no idea how I'm going to explain this if I ever get caught or worse, end up in the hospital. But for now I guess I'm in it for the long haul.